Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Hot Seat with Hinson. I'm Congresswoman Ashley Hinson, back in Iowa. Always great to be back home. So thanks for spending a little bit of your time with us on this Friday morning. We have a very special guest for today's edition of Hot Seat, and I'd like to introduce everyone today to Juan Ciscomani. He is a fabulous candidate in Arizona, running to flip Arizona 6 from blue to red, and it is my pleasure to be supporting Juan in his race. We're behind you 100%. And you have such a great story to tell. So for everybody who's watching today, just tell everybody a little bit more about yourself and your family and why you're running for Congress.
Thank you. Well, Congresswoman, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure. I've enjoyed getting to know you and following your race, your tenure as well as Congresswoman. And I think we're all fighting the same fight here to take our country back. And that's the main reason that I jumped in. As you know, I'm a dad of 6. I have a 13-year-old all the way down to a 3-year-old, 3 boys and 3 girls. And when you look at our large family, you may think, gosh, they could be the reason to not run, but they're actually the reason to run, because I wanted to have a shot at the American dream the same way that I've had a shot at the American dream, and you have as well. My family came from Mexico, so I've gone through this process with my parents of immigrating to the country, becoming a citizen. I lived all that with them, and I know exactly what it takes. And my parents get dressed up like this, actually better than I am dressed today, to go vote, because they value it. They had to fight for it. They had to earn it. And so they love America in a very unique way. And that's how I was raised. I was raised here in Tucson, which is the main town in the district. And my dad today still, he drives a bus for the city. That's what he's done his whole career. And it's just great to be here. Before I launched the campaign, he asked me, he said, where else could we have our story, Juan? He said, we come to this country, we immerse ourselves in the culture, learn English, become citizens. He said, I drive a bus my entire life, and my son has a shot at becoming a member of the United States Congress. Where else in the world can this be? And the answer is nowhere else. This is the land of opportunity, and this is the American dream. And he's living his, as you know, in his job, and I'm living mine, you're living yours. And I want everybody to have a shot at that. And that's why I jumped in this race.
Yeah, absolutely critical. And your why is, I think, what is resonating with so many Americans right now. And you have not only that great background, but also unique perspective with especially a lot of the issues that are affecting our country right now. And you are in a border district, and you've had a lot of experience in working with local law enforcement and folks there at the southern border. Can you tell me a little bit, and tell everyone watching a little bit more about the situation there? We're certainly hearing about it with the failures of this administration. Most recently this week, the news broke about them eliminating Title 42, which allows them to more quickly process people coming over the border the wrong way, not like your family did, but the wrong way, where they come over illegally. And they're taking away every tool that works to keep our country safe and really protect our freedom in that instance. But can you share a little bit about your experience in that district?
Well, growing up on the border like I have, and so many of us here have, gives you a very unique perspective of what it's like on the border. Life is like here at the border, because we have kind of like 3 aspects of it. One is border security, which is the main one, and the one we're going to talk about here today. Then you have trade and commerce, which flows legally through our ports of entry that we all enjoy, we all like. Over 228,000 jobs in Arizona are produced by this trade with Mexico and Canada as our number 1 and 2 trading partners. All that we want to promote. Fast and speedy trade while we have a secure border, though. And then you have the immigration process, which I explained my family went through. So I have a personal journey with that. So all 3 aspects of it, when you live on the border, you kind of understand that, and you can separate the good ones from the bad ones, and the trade conversation and tourism versus the border security part of it. So for me, it's always very important to distinguish that living on the border is not a war zone, but we are in the worst situation that we've been in a long time right now when it comes to securing our family and in our border, because of the failure of the Biden administration. They've created this border crisis that wasn't here. I can tell you, I lived here, and not only does data prove it, but anecdotal data also proves it, that it wasn't like this. Just a couple of years ago, when we were under the right policies, like Remain in Mexico policy, and obviously Title 42 helped with that as well. And it's also sending the right message to Latin America that the border is not open to cross illegally the way they are doing it now. So the messaging has been wrong, the policies have been wrong, and the resources have been failing. Everything about the Biden administration and the Pelosi team of how to approach the border has been a failure, and we're seeing the evidence of that.
Yes, absolutely. And you are truly seeing the evidence of that in your communities, just as we are here in Iowa. I did a ride along with Cedar Rapids Police in 2020 and got a chance to see firsthand how an illegal immigrant in our community who had been arrested before, right? He had been undocumented in this country. He got aggressive and fought and had to be tased by police in Cedar Rapids. So I've seen that firsthand in Cedar Rapids. And you're seeing that play out in a much more demonstrative way in your communities, a way that's actually putting the safety and security of your communities at risk. Can you tell us a little bit about what you saw? Because you just rode along with one of your local law enforcement as well.
That's right. That's right. This is so much more complicated and deep than what I think even the media can show on this, because it's going beyond just these migrants crossing. And even in Arizona, you have two different sections. One section of the state where the migrant families are turning themselves in, and you're seeing the masses of them just crossing over where the holes in the wall are, and they just go and turn themselves into to Border Patrol. Then in my district, you're seeing actually the ones that are running from law enforcement because they're the ones carrying the drugs, and they're the ones carrying the dangerous and the criminal element of a deeper criminal element of their actions. So they are endangering our communities. Just yesterday, like you mentioned, I was in Sierra Vista, and I was in Cochise County, which is where Sierra Vista is. It's the border county and part of my district. And hours before I showed up, an incident happened where a 29-year-old U.S. citizen from Tucson, Arizona, which is about an hour away from Sierra Vista, was driving at a high-speed chase carrying migrants. The car stopped. The migrants jumped out because they know that if they can catch the migrants with the driver can not be prosecuted. So they have this whole system down. The driver continued to try to flee from police. And at that point, police was keeping back because they know that these people have no regard for life as they're fleeing because of what they think they know about the law and how little regard they have for the safety of others. So police are very careful at pursuing these individuals, especially in residential areas. Long story short, the driver ends up crashing on the side of a building, and on the bounce from that crash, ran over a 59-year-old lady that was riding her bike, just casually going from point A to point B. Thankfully, I think by the time we left, she was in stable condition, but it was life-threatening for a while there. These are the things that we're facing on daily basis, because I'm getting briefed on this, and the sheriff told me this happens 10 times a day. This is a daily incident that we see. And one thing that many people may not know, the way that they're finding out about this is through social media. Using social media platforms, they're recruiting vulnerable young individuals that are being promised $1,500 to $2,000 a head to transport them from the border up to the Metro Phoenix area, which is about 3 hours away. And for some people, it's a 6-hour round trip or a 3-hour one way to make 10, 15,000 sometimes seems like a good business deal without really putting in perspective the danger that they're putting themselves in and others as well. So this is infiltrating into younger citizens that are participating in the trafficking of these people.
Right. And continuing to put our safety at risk here in the United States as well. And all this does is continue to enable the cartels. As you mentioned, the migrants get out with the drugs and run in the communities. We know this is how they are funneling these things like dangerous fentanyl and meth. And you talk about who this is really benefiting. I mean, the pay that they're able to shell out, these cartels are making hundreds of millions of dollars. And all that does is enable them to grow stronger in Mexico and continue to overrun legitimate Mexican authority as well. So this is a huge safety and security issue for us. It's a huge safety and security issue, not along the border, but for Mexican communities as well as American communities. So I'm sure you're hearing a lot about that from people who have immigrated the right way. That we need to follow that process. And I clearly understand that many people want to come to the United States to seek a better life here. And we want that to happen. We want to make sure people feel that they can come here and pursue freedom, but we want them to do it in the right way. And speaking of freedom, our freedom every day is threatened by rampant inflation, rampant gas prices. And that's something that I believe I'm hearing more about this issue than probably any other issue from my constituents here in Iowa. I'm sure that's resonating back home for you as well. Tell us a little bit about what you're hearing and what the key driving issues are in your campaign.
That's absolutely right. And we started with the main one, which is border security, and the second one is inflation. This is hitting everyone. As you know, we know how much gas is up 50% here in Arizona for sure. I always quote that bacon is up about 19%. And another thing that I'm tracking is kids' shoes. You know, with 6 kids, you got to buy kids' shoes almost all the time.
Yeah.
And they're up 12%, in case of any of your listeners are following are wondering. These are all the things that I'm tracking, even as a family man today, but I know that the community is as well. I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment with sharing a room with my siblings and my parents in the other room. Trust me, if we would have seen these numbers then, I don't know how we would have been able to afford just daily needs. And so I know that today families are suffering because of that. I'm hearing it from my constituents here in this district that it is difficult, and they don't understand why we can't get something like this under control, and how could it have turned so bad so quickly. And as I'm talking to people, we just had to turn in our signatures here in Arizona, and I did so. And in the process of that, I talked to many people, many independents. My district actually has about a third, just roughly a third Republican, a third Democrat, and a third independents. And everyone is being hit with this the same way. So this is not a party issue. This is not a what side of the aisle are you on? Everyone's paying the same price for this, and everybody's feeling it. And it's not good. And clearly comes from the top. And this is, again, another failure of the Biden and Pelosi team of failing our country.
Yeah, well, as you can imagine, I've only got 2 boys, but mine are 9 and 11 and eating machines. And so we go through a fair amount of gallons of milk every week, the bacon. And so I can tell you, we've been monitoring those price increases, and we feel them too right here in America's heartland. And I know that inflation is going to be a key issue, and we continue to offer solutions in Washington, D.C., but they continue to fall on deaf ears with Speaker Pelosi and President Biden's driven agenda. Their agenda is about spending money and creating an expansion of government. This bill that they keep rebranding, it was Build Back Better, and now it's Build a Better America. All it does is expand the role of government, expand spending, and continue to force dependence and reliance upon government, which is the wrong direction for our country. You talk about what's fueling inflation. It's this excessive spending. We've been sounding the alarm on this for more than a year now. It's clear it's resonating with Americans, and we will continue to do everything we can to not only take back the House and fire Speaker Pelosi in November, but reverse some of these disastrous policies that clearly are taking our country in the wrong direction. And that's why I'm so excited to have you as a candidate, Juan, because you're out there working, you're on the campaign trail, you're talking with voters. And you and I had talked about this, and I know you have probably a lot of favorite moments from the campaign trail so far, but you're a Spanish speaker, and so you're able to really connect in a way that many others can't. Can you talk a little bit about the impact of that on your campaign and what it's like to be bilingual out there talking with voters and connecting with people in that unique way?
Sure. It just makes our campaign an opportunity to have a broader reach. I grew up speaking Spanish at home, as you can imagine, and this is a great opportunity. Right now, the Hispanic community, they're being hit with these issues. If you ask my parents, or really most people that came here, why they came here, is for a better job and a better education. And both of those things are in danger right now by the left, the far left policies that are just hurting our communities. On the education front as well. So the Hispanic community and the Spanish-speaking community specifically are really waking up to this reality that, listen, these policies haven't worked for me at all. And now I'm listening here, and I have a better opportunity. It's not always about converting them and having them change their party registration. But as I tell them, let's start by voting for a Republican. Let's start by voting and supporting for these policies. And that's resonating well, because we're focusing on the issues. We're not focusing on party. We're not into that kind of approach and game. All I'm focusing on is saying these are the issues, and this is where we are. And I'm telling you, families come here, and not only the ones that are coming here, but everyone is pursuing the American dream. We all want that, a piece of that, in whatever way. Maybe you've been here for 10 generations, or you just got here. Either way, the point is that we're pursuing the American dream, and nothing stifles that more than a big, aggressive, overreaching government that just infringes upon our personal liberties to pursue that American dream. And that resonates very well with the Hispanic community, and we're being able to reach them. And I'm telling you, I can reach them like this, or we can reach them in Spanish as well. My wife is also bilingual. Our entire family is. So we enjoy going out in the community and showing people that the Republican Party is a broad tent with a place for everyone that wants personal freedom.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell what's fueling your fight to take on this important work in Congress, and I can't wait to have you as a colleague, Juan. And I'm 100% behind you. And I think after today, I think you'll have a lot of new fans across the country. But where can
Hopefully, yeah.
people continue to learn more about your campaign and help you so that we get you across the finish line?
Well, great. My website is www.juanciscomani.com. Easy. You can just go on there and get more information. We're keeping the fight here. We're going to flip this seat. It's an open seat, so we have a great chance to take it and be one of the 5 needed seats to flip the House and go up there and work with you as we reverse a lot of these bad policies and get our country back in order.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Juan. Get
Thank
back
you.
out on the trail and have a great
Yeah.
weekend with your family. And for everyone else who's watching today, thank you so much for joining us for another Hot Seat with Hinson. You can just go to ashleyhinson.com to learn more about our campaign. Have a great Friday, everyone.